Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. So, remember, with our Wisdom Wednesday, this is just a generalized spiritual discussion. And the way that it's chosen is I will choose a topic and a tool that we can use to really help us with the energies that we are currently working with. And right now, the energy that we're currently working with is the energy of acceptance and healing. And I believe that both of those are intricately connected. So last week, we talked about healing, and this week, we're talking about acceptance. And so remember, if you have any questions or comments about the topic, you are free to ask them. If there's questions or comments that you have that are off topic, then you can always feel free to message me or you can email me at my website, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you. So if you guys are interested in learning more about me or my services, you can go check out my website. Or if you'd like to contact me with other questions, comments, or concerns you have about the live that we did that you maybe didn't get to ask your question about, or maybe your question is off topic, but you're maybe seeking a little guidance about it around a spiritual topic, not just a free reading, then you can email me. Or if you're interested in more content like this, you can go visit my YouTube channel, and both of those links are in the description below. So thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you for everyone for being here. And we are going to jump in to our topic, accepting what is. So when you hear that, a lot of us may say that, yeah, I totally accept what is. Like, I know what that is and I know how to do it. And I'm going to agree with you. You most likely do. But what I want to ask you is, from what perspective or who or what part of your mind is really doing that accepting? And so the reason I bring that up is because I like to put it in these terms. So whatever spirit does to, assist us to heal, the ego can use as well. And it's vice versa. So whatever the ego makes, the spirit can use. So we have to be very discerning. And notice I didn't use the word judging. Judging would be, this is good and this is bad. Discerning is, this is more in alignment for me and this is not. It's not just because this isn't in alignment, it's bad. It's just, this isn't in alignment for me. And that's okay. And we kind of move forward with that. So when we talk about accepting what is, first, let's look at how the ego may look at that. And I want to use this example to best explain it. So here in Indiana today, it has kind of been raining off and on. So let's say you wake up and you hear the rain. And let's say you maybe have a negative reaction to it. Okay, so let's say you're like, oh, it's raining. So you just state that fact at first. And then you're like, it's raining. And when it's raining, it's going to be cold outside. It's going to be wet. It's going to be soggy. The day's just going to drag on. I'm a sun person. And, when the sun's not out, the day just can't, go fast enough. And then I'm going to kind of be, in a mopey mood. And then I can't go outside. I can't go for a walk. Or I can't do this because, now it's raining. And, maybe there's a lot of different other things that go along with the concept of it's raining. And so you may be sitting there and you're like, okay, yeah, it's raining and it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay, so right there, ego has jumped in. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I just have to accept that I'm in a terrible situation and there's nothing that I can do about it because I am powerless. The world is happening to me. There's nothing I can do. So I just better suck it up, buttercup, and move on. That's how the ego views accepting what is. And if we're really honest, you're not accepting what is. What you are doing is you are accepting the story and what is the word I'm looking for? You're accepting the story as well as the perception that the ego is giving you. And if we really look at that, it's very disempowering. It's very, very take away all of your power. It's kind of taking you almost into that victimhood mentality of, well, the world is happening to me and there's nothing I can do about it and the world just sucks. that is not accepting what is. Like I said, that is the ego's way of viewing it, and the ego will, spin that yarn, spin that story, right? Now, let's look at how spirit looks at accepting what is. Okay, so it's going to be a lot shorter than that. It's raining outside. That's how spirit sees it. Okay, it's raining. That's it. It states the fact. It doesn't go into what the ego does do, which, what does the ego do? It goes into this big, long, elaborate story about the meaning that we have placed on it. And we do not have to do that. It's all, there's a beautiful lesson in A Course in Miracles, and I can't remember the lesson number right now, but it's basically, I decide, everything that has meaning for me. I decide everything that has the meaning for me, or something along those lines. And that's really what we have to look at, is our ego cannot come into the present moment. It can only make, and here's another big key word. You notice when I talk about the ego, I don't say that the ego creates anything, because the ego does not create. What the ego does do is the ego makes. And whatever can be made can be unmade, but whatever is created there and forever, just like all of you. You were all created by love, which means by definition, you are love. You cannot be changed. Cannot. Doesn't matter who says you can be. You are immutable. You are unchangeable. The amount of love you were created with is the amount of love you will always and forever be. The amount of light you were created with is the amount of light you will forever and always be. But the ego says, oh, no, 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 no. You're a changeable being. You change, you shift. No, we don't. Now, the stories that the ego makes, those change, those shift constantly. And, there's a beautiful quote that says, and it was actually a friend of mine that sent it to me yesterday. And she was like, Ron, I saw that you are doing, it was actually my friend, Christine. And she said that she was just kind of scrolling through and she saw this quote and she said, I had to send it to you because Spirit was like, Ron needs to incorporate this into his live tomorrow. And so basically the quote is that a good majority of the time, the reason that we have a hard time accepting what is because we have this attachment to the story. Okay, that's really what the whole quote was about. And so we have this big attachment to the story that we have made, or that the ego has made, about this certain circumstance. Now, this does not mean by any stretch of the imagination that you just have to sit there and be like, it is what it is, nothing I can do about it. No, no, no. Remember, so Spirit is very, very empowering. So it says, yeah, okay, it's raining. Let me, meaning Spirit, decide what that means for you. You don't need to decide that. You don't need to come in with that story. Let me decide what it means for you. Because when we align ourselves with Spirit's will, which is our will, and that will is always for our happiness, always for perfect tens. If we're willing to do that, that's when everything shifts and changes. And that's when we are guided into guided action. So once again, it's not just sitting there and being like, nothing I can do. Spirit says, no, this is not coming. This is not happening to you. This is happening from you. And see, when we hear that, a lot of people get really defensive. They're like, well, I didn't want this. I didn't plan for the rain to happen. No, but it is an idea in your mind that you have that says, my plans don't always work out, or things don't always go the way that I think they should, or, it's quote unquote, and once again, this is how the ego uses it, it's divine timing. Okay. So once again, now we're letting the ego kind of decide what divine timing is. Well, it means it's a punishment. That's how the ego uses divine timing. And like I said, this is why we have to become so discerning, so aware, because when we start to put negative connotations on the divine, when we start saying, the divine timing, and using that as a punishment, that's when we really have to be discerning and be like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Let's backtrack a minute, because the divine does not use it as a punishment. So as we come into this, like I said, we start to get a little defensive about it. But like I said, all it is there's just an idea in your mind, a decision that you have made. And here's another beautiful line from A Course in Miracles, and it comes from chapter number 30, The New Beginning. Decisions are continuous. You are always making them. And so what we have to begin to do is make our decisions with spirit instead of making our decisions by ourselves, because a good majority of the time we don't realize it, but we decide against ourselves and we make ourselves the victim, and we don't need to do that anymore. That's something we need to step out of and stop doing, because the more and more we do it, the more and more we say, I am just a victim of the world I see, then guess what? That is what we are going to continue to experience. Like I said, that does not mean that we do not take guided action steps, because there will be action steps to take as long as you believe there are actions that you need to take. That's the beauty. Spirit works with whatever symbols you need. If you still believe there are steps you need to take other than, changing your mind, then Spirit says, okay, great. Let me give them to you. That's what guidance is all about. Guidance is not about Spirit telling you exactly what to do. Spirit guides you to your best and highest alignment. See, a lot of people think, oh, Spirit's going to tell me the exact move, like turn left, turn right, go here, go there. Spirit is only going to give you a suggestion. It's going to be like, hey, you might want to turn right. Hey, you might want to turn left. Or, hey, I don't think that's the best for you. And our job, once again, we have to decide, is that spirit? Is that feel peaceful, compelling, joyful? If it does, great, wonderful. If it doesn't, then we say, okay, let's tune into that. Let's become discerning. Because Spirit, for right now, is going to be very soft and subtle, only because the ego speaks first and loudest. So we have to wait till, that ego voice kind of slips by and step into, that guidance. So we have to remember what Spirit tells us. Spirit says the world is happening from you, not to you. And Spirit then says, okay, if you don't like what's happening, that's great. Let's be willing, then I am willing to heal your mind. And because that is the cause. And once I heal the cause, the effect will change. But here's the catch, if you will. You have to let go of your agenda of what you think the perfect outcome is. Okay? What you think the perfect outcome is, because a good majority of the time, part of that accepting what is being willing to surrender, which means to give over and say, okay, Spirit, I don't know what the perfect outcome here is. I'm willing to accept that I don't know it. I'm willing to accept I don't know what to do. I'm willing to accept that this is a situation and that I can align my will with yours, and that this can change and shift instantly the moment that I am willing to say, okay, it doesn't matter. Okay? And really putting that as a priority and saying, okay, if I look at this right here, right now, does this matter? Is this going to be the end all of all? No, a good majority of the time it's not. I'm not saying all the time, but I'm saying a good majority of the time. If it's raining outside and you have plans and those plans happen to get canceled, okay, number one, we have to become discerning. We have to go in and be like, okay, am I willing to accept that it's raining? Am I willing to accept that this has been, that there might be a delay in this? Am I willing to come in and discern that and say, okay, well, where is that coming from? Well, it must be coming from me, because the divine will is always for my happiness. The divine will is always for perfect tense. The divine will is always for me to be in joy. Okay? So right there, I have to be willing to accept, where did this come from? Well, it must be coming from me. And then I must be willing to say, I don't know what the happiest, best outcome here is, but I am willing to let spirit decide what that's going to be and the steps that I need to necessarily do to get that. I'm willing to align myself with it. And that is the whole key here. So the ego makes up this big story about why the day is terrible, why things are going wrong, why you can't be happy. And spirit simply says, this is a situation. That's it. And it states the fact, it's raining. There's no story behind it's raining. It's raining. Can you accept the fact that it's just raining without the story? Okay, therein lies the key. Without the story, it is raining. I can see that. I don't have to define what the rain means. I can simply be like, okay, spirit, there are things that are going to have to shift here. And, that's it. There are things that are going to have to shift here. I don't know what those things are. I know that one thing is I have to shift my mindset. I have to shift the way that I'm looking at this or thinking about this. I can't do that on my own because I don't know what that's going to look like. So I'm willing to give it over to you. I'm willing to be wrong. And that's what we have a hard time with, being wrong. There's another beautiful concept from A Course in Miracles. That's, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Which one do you want? Because you can't be both. You can't be right and you can't be happy. Either you want to be happy or you want to be right. So either you want to be happy, which means you let go and you're just like, spirit, guide me, because I know that you have only my happiness. Or do you want to be right? Well, that about your story about how terrible a rainy day is. Ron, I have never said I don't know, and I have said it since last week. That's beautiful, Shirley. I'm so glad. That's right. You want to be happy. We don't know and this also comes as a big surprise to a lot of us. And I know it came as a big surprise to me. We don't know what happiness is. We don't. And we have to be honest with ourselves that a good majority of the time, we don't know what true happiness is. And we can be taught what true happiness is. Like, we can be taught that by spirit. And so if that's beautiful, Sharon, I'm so glad you want to be happy as well. And so once again, it's about being willing to let go of the ego story that it has made about a particular situation and say, okay, instead of me looking at the story and getting all caught up in it, let me step back. I don't want to be right about this story. I want happiness, which means I am willing to accept the situation. Okay, it's raining. I see that fact. Spirit, don't let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. That is something that I use on a consistent basis. I thought I was the only one that thought that way. No. So that is what, that's what we want. That's what we want to do. Do not let me use this for my destruction. Instead, let me use it for the coming of my peace. Let me use it for the coming of my happiness. Because I don't know what happiness is. I don't know how to be happy. I don't know how to necessarily get to that point. But I am willing to be taught by accepting that I do not know. By willing to accept that I can, yes, I see the fact in front of me. A lot of people might say, well, in accepting what is, it's not about ignoring what's in front of you and putting on the rose-colored sunglasses and be like, oh my God, it's all sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops. That's not what it's about. It's about acknowledging what's in front of you and then being willing to be like, okay, what's the story I'm making up here? What's the story that I am pulling from the past? Because that's another big key. We can tell when the ego is accepting what is, because we're pulling a story from the past and placing it into our present moment and then believing that that has to occur because it happened then. Just because it happened then doesn't mean it has to happen now. Not at all. Not in the least. So let's be willing to be wrong. Let's be willing to look at a situation from the observer point of view and not from the subjective experiencer point of view, which is where the ego really comes in and it kind of takes the whole thing. Once again, hon, you give me so much clarity. Well, I am so glad. I'm glad that I am giving you the clarity that you need. That's why I do these lives. I always love to do them because I love to bring forth the clarity because it's things that I've come to realizations of, or I've listened to other people and then been like, oh, I have the answer. I get it. And then, we can start working on it. But don't let the ego take it. And because the ego is really good. This is kind of turned into like an ego discussion, but that's okay. We just let spirit guide us wherever we need to be. The ego will sometimes take, it knows what the issue is. Even if it doesn't want to admit it, it always knows what it is. And what it will do is it will just sit on it. Oh yeah, I know what the issue is. Like, I know I don't feel worthy of love, or I know I don't feel worthy of happiness, or it's just a worthiness issue. I know that's what it is, but it doesn't do anything about it. It just sits on it like an egg and is expecting it to, and that's it. It just says, yep, I know what the issue is, but I'm not going to look at it. Where spirit says, I need to look at this. Like, let's look at it together in order for it to heal. Okay? That's why acceptance is a part of the healing process, okay? Acceptance is part of the healing process because once we accept, then we can move into understanding, and from understanding, we can move into healing. Now, why does it progress like that? Well, because first, we have to really get into that and be like, okay, let me accept right now, this is the way that I'm feeling. I accept that maybe I'm not feeling good. Maybe I'm feeling a little sad. Maybe I'm feeling a little down. Okay, I accept that. I'm not putting a story with it. I can accept that I have chosen the thoughts. Hi, Monica. Yes, it can be. It definitely can be. And so I can accept that I have chosen, and I know this is something that, we all can get caught up on, but this is a thought that I have chosen. This is an emotion that I have chosen to feel. I get to decide how I feel. So I've chosen this feeling because it's raining. I've decided to be in a bad mood because it's raining, or I've decided to be mopey because it's raining. I've decided to be sad because it's raining. I've decided to be irritated because it's raining. Whatever the case is, this is my decision. No one can make me feel any certain way. Nothing can make me feel this way. All that it is I've made this decision. I can accept that. And I can accept that I have the power, okay? I have the power to then come from, I accept this. Okay, so where is this coming from as I look at it as an observer? So as I step back, accepting that I chose this thought, looking at it, okay, where did this come from? Oh, it's coming from this past story. Do I want to be right about this story, or do I want to be happy about this story? We've always been in a bad mood in the UK with our weather. So, which one and I love that and Sharon, here's what I love, that you can poke fun at it. That's how you know you're already on the way to healing, because you can poke fun. So I love that. I love, love, love that. And so we move into, okay, now we're moving into this understanding phase. So I'm looking at it, and now I'm coming into this understanding because I've accepted it. Now I can begin to understand, wow, I never really noticed that I'm choosing these thoughts. I'm choosing these feelings. I'm in charge. Like, wow. Okay, like this is, a big step. I'm taking this step, and that step was merely done because I've accepted it. And now I've accepted it. So now that I've accepted it, I can move into an understanding of it. Now that I understand it, now the healing begins, because I now understand that I have the power of decision, that I have the power to choose how I feel, that I can shift out of this as fastly as I shifted into it. All it takes is for me to move into gratitude, move into appreciation, or instead of, and willing to be wrong about my story instead of right about it. That's it. And And I know in that example, it was very quick, but we can do that. It's just a matter of coming into that awareness and that discernment. So, once again, let's do a little bit of a review. And also, before we do that review, you guys noticed me talking about guidance, and actually Shirley joined me as well with some other people as well that are not on here currently, but Shirley joined me for my 8 weeks of guidance course, which I am going to be reopening here in April. And that course teaches you all about tuning in. That course teaches you all about what it is, what guidance really is. So that's something that I will be opening back up. And actually, starting Monday, the 31st, and so Monday, the 31st, I'm going to be I'm going to be doing a live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're going to be playing some intuitive games to help open us up to some guidance, help us realize how easy and effortless guidance is. And if you're interested in more information about that, you can, of course, go check out my website and go look under my workshops, and you can check out all the information, including the syllabus, if you are interested in learning how to tune into your guidance, so you don't necessarily have to keep going outside of yourself to gain that. So just that's my little my little infomercial, if you will. If you're interested in working with me in a group or one-on-one, that's also something that the guidance course that I offer in the guidance course. Either you can join a group, or you can just be an individual, and it's just you and me. We work together for the 8 weeks. So if that's something you're interested in, like I said, you can go check out my website, awakeningmiracles.org, and you can check out the workshops tab. So let's do a little review of accepting what is. And before we move on, I'm going to take a little drink of water. All right. So back to accepting what is. So we know that we can understand the concept of accepting what is, but what we don't realize is that we are most likely understanding it from the ego's point of view. How does the ego view accepting what is? The ego says it's raining outside, which means today's going to be terrible. It's going to be wet. It's going to be cold. I'm going to be in a bad mood. The people don't know how to drive in the rain, and it's just going to be terrible, and it's just going to be awful. And I just have to deal with it because there's nothing else I can do, so I just have to accept it. It is what it is, and I'm just going to move on with my day. That is not accepting what is. That is accepting powerlessness. That is accepting your old story, and it has nothing to do with accepting what is. You are basically saying, yes, I accept that the past can come into the present and that it can hurt me, and that life is unfair, and that God is just really mean, or spirit doesn't love me, it lost my file, and it's just unfair. Where spirit, on the other hand, what is spirit going to say? Spirit's going to say, yes, and being angry. And so what's spirit going to say? Spirit says, it's raining. That's it. Spirit just says, the fact is, it's raining. Okay, so how do you want to feel about this? Once again, you have the power of decision. Spirit, and this is, like I said, this is something I use on a consistent basis. Spirit, I see it's raining outside. Please don't let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. That's it. Simple and easy. That way, because what have I done? I have taken that step back from my story, and I've said, Spirit, don't let me use this current situation for my destruction. Instead, let me use it for the coming of my peace, which is another invitation for Spirit to be like, Spirit, I'm aligning with your will. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to be happy. I don't know what rain means. I've ascribed it a meaning in the past, but I'm willing to let you ascribe it a brand new meaning in this here and now. And if there are steps that I need to take, I'm willing to take them, because I am willing to accept that just because it happened then, whatever happened then, that it has to happen now. I'm willing to accept that this is a brand new moment and that I have the power of decision. I'm willing to become the observer in this situation. And I'm willing to allow you, meaning spirit, to decide for me. Okay, now you may think, well, that's a cop out. It's not a cop out, because what you're doing is you are aligning with the truth of who you are. You are aligning with the one thing within all of the universe, or that is the universe, that wants nothing but your best, nothing but your happiest. That's all that it wants. So we have to be willing to ask ourselves, do I want to be right about this, or do I want to be happy? If I want to be right that the rain is a terrible thing, okay, then the rain is a terrible thing. Nothing I can do about it. I'm powerless. Or I can say, okay, it's raining. Spirit, don't let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. And I'm willing to hand over my story. I'm willing to be wrong about it, because I want happiness, and I want you to teach me how to be happy, Spirit, because I do not know. And once again, if there are steps to take, we will be guided to those steps. Now, see this, like I said, this is the key to guidance. Guidance is not about telling you what to do. Okay, now will Spirit sometimes tell you what to do? Yes, and sometimes it'll be very direct. But at the same token, Spirit also is offering you a suggestion. It's saying, hey, like this is something you might want to do. Where ego is like, you better turn, because if you don't turn, the whole world's going to end tomorrow. If you don't turn, the world's going to end. Spirit's like, hey, you might want to turn left. And you decide to turn right. And it's like, okay, hey, you might want to turn, to the right now. And you turn left. Spirit doesn't care. It's going to continue to offer you guidance without judgment, where the ego's guidance always comes with a judgment and always comes with a story. So the concept of accepting what is accepting the fact of a situation without the story behind it. Letting go of the value that you have for the story, whatever that may be. Letting it go and saying, I don't want this story. I'm simply going to accept that it's raining. And actually, here's what happened to me today. I went outside this morning and it was like, oh, there's going to be no rain until like 10. And I was like, perfect. Not an issue. So I put on my jacket because it was a little chilly. And I went outside and I started walking. I turned the corner and it starts raining. Now, I could have gone into my little story of, oh, God, this always happens. Life's so unfair. Or, okay, I can accept that in this moment, it's raining. I accept that. Spirit, don't let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. And then as I did that, I was like, okay, should I just go home? Should I just go home? And for me, I got that feeling, I got that guidance. No, keep walking. And I was like, okay. I mean, I want to be happy. So I keep walking. Literally, I walk 5 steps, rain stops. I was like, oh, okay, great. I start walking, I'm walking again, and the rain starts again. And I'm like, okay, Spirit, here we go. Like, it's starting to rain again. I can feel myself like getting upset about this. What do I need to do? Okay, I have a story running right now. Story's running. Oh, sometimes you just get rained on. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. Nope. Here comes ego coming on up. Spirit, I can see that it is raining right now. I can see and I can feel that I am getting a little damp. And Spirit, my goal is peace. Please don't let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. And so I continue to walk, and then the rain stops, and then that's it. It didn't rain again during the whole rest of the walk. Did I get home and I threw my, my little jacket into the dryer? That was it. Like, bing, bang, boom, done. And it all, instead of coming home, be like, oh my God, it's soaking wet, and and there's a whole big charade that I didn't have to go into. And my jacket wasn't soaking wet. It was a little damp. So I just unzipped it, put it in the dryer. It was dry. It was fine. Done. And then I went for the rest of my walks. Completely effortless and totally fine. So, like I said, Be willing to be discerning. Is this really me accepting what is, or is this my ego coming up with a story about what's happening and what my mood should be and how it should be, and so forth and so on? So that is our live for today. That is our Wisdom Wednesday. I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being here. If you didn't get to catch the whole entire broadcast, do not worry. You can go to my YouTube channel, which is in the description of the video, and you can rewatch it if you wish on my YouTube channel. And remember, if you are interested in looking more into my 8 weeks of guidance course and what that is, what that entails, and exactly what we're going to be learning in that, you can go ahead and you can go to my website, awakeningmiracles.org, which is in the description below. Go to my workshop tab and you can scroll through and you can look at all the different workshops that I do offer. And you can look at the 8 weeks of guidance course. You can look at the syllabus. It's a full syllabus of exactly what is, what we're going to be learning, what we're going to be talking about. I'm super excited because it's something that I absolutely love to do. So I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being here. And I will see you all soon. Bye for now.